My goodness, Iowa State. What did the Sun Devils do to you? If that game was any indicator, Iowa State is winning this Big 12 tournament by at least 20 points.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Nick Marovets. Thank you for making this your first watch or listen of the day. I appreciate it more than you know. Be sure to hit subscribe down below so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. As today we talk about Iowa State's victory over Arizona State to start. And that's going to be a really fun segment. Honestly, it might bleed over into the second because it was so one-sided. Then we're going to jump into Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament, Iowa State in March Madness, what's all going on there. Honestly, we'll talk about the seeding, yes, but we're also going to talk about how this team is playing, what I saw against Arizona State. Then to round out today's show, we're going to talk about Texas Tech, who Iowa State has next in the Big 12 tournament. Can't wait to dive into all that more. But first, we have to start with Arizona State, okay? And let's start with the stat that says it all for Iowa State. Iowa State went on a 91-42 run in the last 40 minutes of the Arizona State-Iowa State game. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And honestly, you could go here too, which I think this one's fun. Iowa State went on a 45-16 run to start the game against Arizona State, the first 20 minutes of the game. What? I know there were comments that came out from Arizona State, okay? But my goodness, did Iowa State come out with a vengeance. They were ready to play on this one. And I did do a whole segment on this yesterday. I'm not going to do it today. But the floor, never again should this be a thing. One time, great, you did it for a year. Joshua Jefferson said that the Big 12's LED court was too slick for his Ja Morant threes. He switched to some Kobe fours. Yeah, look, and I saw Blake Buchanan slip it. Like, I'm not going to talk about it because I've done it before, and actually more than once. But that it's got to be the last time. Got to be the last time. Anyways, let's get back to the victory. 91-42 final score here. Looking at the box score, Iowa State held every Sun Devil to single-digit points besides Santiago True. Just an incredible showing defensively. It was probably the biggest takeaway you could grab from this game. Arizona State was playing their offense from basically the half-court line all day long. They got some looks here. They got some looks there. And honestly, 42 points. It felt like if Iowa State wanted to, they could have held them to about 15. I mean, they had 16 points at halftime, okay? And 40% of those points came in the last 3 minutes. They very well could have gone into halftime with 10 points. I believe the number at halftime, as far as turnovers goes for Arizona State, was around the 12, 13 turnovers mark. It was just incredible. Turnovers for the game, Arizona State had 23 to Iowa State's 8. So there's the turnover battle that we talked about. Iowa State has to win. Rebounding-wise, Iowa State won 38-32. They had 14-9 on the offensive rebounding this side of things. From the floor, Iowa State shot 51%. Three-point percentage was 40% for the Clones. And this is the number that I don't love, and we'll talk about this more probably in the second segment, but only 60% from the line, 15 of 25. Not a problem when you're up by nearly 50 points, but you're not always up by that much. So let's keep that in mind. As far as individual performances, we don't need to spend all day on this, but Blake Buchanan had 17. Joshua Jefferson had 20. Milan had 21. Torrey had 4. We'll get to him in a second. Some very exciting potential. Let's just say there was a shot that mattered, I feel like, a lot at the end of this one. Taman Lipsey had 11 points. Dominicus Plato with 4. Jamarian Bateman off the bench was your leader with 9. And then there was a handful of other guys who had points. Mulder had 2. Nelson had 2. Kelderman had a free throw. Nate Heisey did not score. Anthony Rise got in, did not score. Did have a rebound, though. So very solid showing, obviously, from Iowa State in this one. I don't really feel like I need to get into, the amount of points or the rebounds. Like Jefferson had a double-double. Okay, awesome. Obviously, rebounding was huge in this one. We can get into the steals. We can get into all of that. I don't think that's really the way I want to go here. I want to honestly focus more on the fact that Iowa State came out and they decided they are going to win this game. That was the vibe that I had from the start. It was that this team was going to dominate their opponent. And this time, it just so happened to be Arizona State. Now, I am trying to hold myself back here from getting blown off, way out of proportion here. Because Arizona State, we just faced Arizona State. For Iowa State, this was a back-to-back. And obviously the first game was a 21-point victory. Here it's a 39-point victory. So what's the difference between 21 and 39? I'll tell you right now, it's about 18 points. But from a realistic standpoint, if you win by 21, if you win by 39, like you won in a dominant fashion either way. Is kind of how I look at this. So obviously this being in the Big 12 tournament, this being the first round for Iowa State, second round for Arizona State, first time Iowa State's played on the court. Like there's all of these factors that go into this feels like a way bigger win than it actually is. I'm trying to hold myself back from saying that Iowa State's going to win the Big 12 tournament by 30 points. And we'll see how they play against Texas Tech. If they bring the same intensity they did against Arizona State, I think that they're in a very, very good spot. There were some comments that were made, and I think Iowa State took them to heart. I hope that they can bring that same intensity out for every single game the rest of the way. That being said, I don't know if they will. So just looking at this one, the real highlights were the offensive rebounding for me. That was incredible. It just felt like no matter what, if Iowa State was putting a shot up, Iowa State was going to come down with the offensive rebound. And obviously, when you're getting that many second chance looks, you're going to score a lot more buckets. Is your percentage going to change because you're getting offensive rebounds? Not necessarily, but I do think it helps morally, like in the head wise, when you bring down that bucket or that missed bucket and you can get another shot at it. It doesn't feel like one and done. It's a really good way to keep momentum, to keep rhythm throughout this game, which Arizona State was just never able to do because they were being turned over constantly, which is the other side of this. So Iowa State was keeping their momentum with all sorts of offensive rebounds, and they were completely just sputtering out Arizona State in any way, shape, or form that they were able to semi-build up with turnovers left, right, and center. They were smothering on defense. They were all the way out past the three-point line completely. And honestly, Iowa State's defense, I do think, lends itself to a lot more slipping, which is why I felt like I noticed it right away because they're so intense. But they were so intense, so far out. Arizona State just did not have an answer. I will say this. I don't know for sure how that will work out against some of these other opponents, right? Like a Texas Tech or an Arizona or whoever it ends up being out of the other side of the bracket. That level of intensity is what Iowa State hangs their hat on. But if you get beat, you get beat pretty hard on this one. Arizona State only really had tough shots all game long. And that's, I think a big part of the reason that they only had 42 points. When they were getting shots up, they really, really had to work for them. But I don't think Arizona State had a good answer for Iowa State's defense. Like, I just think that they were completely lost all of the time. They weren't really generating any open looks at all. And I think that there are times where Iowa State's defensive scheme simply lends itself to there are going to be open people because of the traps and the double teams and this, that, and the other thing. Once the team figures out how to get the ball moved around to those open players, there's an element to me where Iowa State is vulnerable. We'll see if a team can continue to, if they can make those shots, essentially, is what it comes down to. If you can get the ball into those hands, he's just got to make the shot. But that's only defensively. Offensively, then, Iowa State was in this game, like 91 points. You can let Arizona State score another 30 points, and you're still going to win this game 72-91. You can let Arizona State score another 40 points. 40 points! You could literally let Arizona State double their amount of points they had in this one, and you would still beat them because you were very efficient, or at least more efficient, on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to get to the offensive side, just my quick thoughts on that coming up right here after this. Regardless, Iowa State played exceptionally well against Arizona State, and I do think that they're very much in the running for a 2 seed. That's going to come after our offensive conversation coming up right here after this.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Texas won its first ever SEC championship on Sunday, beating South Carolina 78-61 and snapping the Gamecocks' 3-year run as SEC tournament champions. In the Big Ten championship, UCLA dominated Iowa 96-45. The 51-point margin is the most lopsided title game in Big Ten tournament history. With a resume that includes 18 Quad 1 wins and one of the toughest schedules in the country, UCLA is making a serious push for the overall number 1 seed. But UConn has held that spot all season and remains the nation's only unbeaten team. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. First thing I want to get to really quick here is Iowa State's offense. Then we'll get into Iowa State as a potential, 2 seed in the March Madness tournament. Can't wait to dive into all of that. But first, just want to thank you for making Locked On Cyclones your first watch or listen of the day. If you've been thinking about joining the Everydayer Club, now is the time. Again, you get ad-free shows and access to our group chat on Discord. And if you're signed up before the NCAA tournament tips off, which is soon, you can get into our Everydayer Club bracket pool on Discord for a chance to win Locked On merch. Should be a lot of fun. I love myself a good bracket pool. So right now you can use code MARCH to get your first month free. Head to lockedoncyclones.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes, whether you're watching on YouTube, listening, wherever you choose to listen. I've got it down below. Link is on screen as well if you are choosing to watch. All right. I want to get to the offense here. I didn't want to skim over this. Iowa State's offense looked phenomenal in this game against Arizona State, and I think a lot of that was because of the ball movement. Of course, they shot well, okay? 51%, 40%. Like, those are the numbers. I will say Arizona State shot 5%. 5% from the three-point line. That's just not very conducive to a win. They were tough shots, but man, that's part of it. Iowa State shot well, and that's what we've talked about with Iowa State as far as offensive efficiency, and maybe it's a little bit inflated whenever they shoot well, their offense looks good. I do think that stands true in this game. Iowa State just shot well, and that's why their offense looked really good. But they shot well because they were giving themselves open looks. They shot well because on their 33 field goals, they had 24 assists. They were moving the ball around really well. There were multiple possessions where everyone's touching the ball. Everyone's getting either an open look or at least moving the ball with the ball, whipping it around the court. There was a lot that I liked as far as offensively in this game from Iowa State. They really did, I think, level up in this one. It looked that way to me. Now, you're still, keep in mind, playing in Arizona State, and we'll see how they play against Texas Tech today. But for now, I am optimistic about the way that Iowa State's offense is playing. That being said, optimism is kind of is the theme of this next segment. Could Iowa State be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament? I think so. I think they have a real chance to make their way into that 2 seed line. When you look at what Iowa State's resume is, where they're projected to be, this win over Arizona State certainly does not hurt, is probably the best way to put it. And then obviously they'll play Texas Tech here, and then they'll play, probably Arizona, or they'll probably play Arizona. Excuse me. I don't know for sure that they'll play Arizona. We'll see how that game plays out. But those two games, if Iowa State's to beat Texas Tech and then can keep it close with Arizona or beat Arizona, I think Iowa State is firmly in the 2-seed line. If they don't look good against Texas Tech, probably a 3-seed is my guess. I don't think they'll drop them down to 4, but I do think they're pretty secure at the 3. So whether Iowa State is a 2 or a 3-seed doesn't really matter as much to me. Obviously, you want to have the higher seed. To me, with this team, I'm kind of tired of making excuses of saying, oh, they're coming off of a loss. Oh, they're on the road. Oh, they're this. Oh, they're that. Oh, they're a 3-seed. Oh, they're a 2-seed. Like, just go out, suit up, and play is kind of how I'm feeling about this Iowa State team right now. So, yes, a win over Texas Tech would be super cool for the Big 12 tournament. I think that would, I don't know if a win over Texas Tech would absolutely lock them in as a 2-seed, but it would certainly help. And playing well against Arizona likely would obviously help them in that regard again as well. But I want to see them just suit up. I'm tired of, like, in this situation, in the Big 12 tournament situation, they're the 5-seed. Oh, no, you didn't get the 4-seed. Go suit up. Like, that's how this felt to me. And they did that. I want to see them go out into the March Madness tournament. What is the best way for me to say that? I feel like I've just been saying that so poorly. The March Madness, the NCAA tournament, probably the NCAA tournament. I want to see them go out in the NCAA tournament into March Madness. And it doesn't matter what seed they are. Does the seeding change the amount of games they play? Other than, unless you're like in the first 4 or the last 4 in, no. You obviously play different teams, but that doesn't really, like, I know that there is a very good argument for the seeding. Okay, I understand that. I'm not saying that it doesn't have its place. But for Iowa State, I am just in the boat where they're capable, okay? Sure, they probably need a little bit of help if they're going to win a national championship. I'm not delusional, and I'm not going to say that they can beat, 6 Arizonas in a row and win a national title. Like, I'm not saying that. Obviously, it helps to play some teams like Arizona State early on. Not that Arizona State's going to make it, but my point is a nearly 50-point win is relatively likely for Iowa State in the first round. But I'm at the point with this team where you need to go out and do it. You just got to get it done. I don't care, because my expectations aren't that they're going to make it to the round of 32. Oh, I hope they get a good seed so that way they can get a good game, an easy draw, and make it to the round of 32. My expectations are that they make to the Sweet 16. Like, oh man, I hope they get a good draw. They can win back-to-back and make it to the second weekend. No, I want this team to make it to, the Final Four, at least the Elite 8. And you're going to see a tough team in the Sweet 16, basically no matter what, barring some crazy run. And if a team is on a crazy run, they're playing ridiculously well. I guess that's why I'm not so worried about the seed. Selection Sunday is going to come around. Oh, is Iowa State a 2 or 3 seed? Like, I want them to be the 2 seed. Obviously, I want them to be the high seed, or I want them to get a good seeding and a good path or whatever, because I want to see them play as many games as possible. But this team is capable of making it very, very deep in the tournament. And when you're going that deep in the tournament, you're going to face good teams no matter what. It's not like you're going to find yourself in the national championship and you played Alcorn State, Lipscomb, Southeast Western Tech College of Institution, and then you faced, maybe in the last round it was Kansas State or something, Arizona State. Like, you're not going to find yourself in the Final Four that way. You're going to find yourself in the Final Four by playing probably a relatively easy round of 32 or round of 64 game. Round of 32, a little bit harder, maybe a legitimate Power 5 school, maybe not, who knows, kind of depends. Sweet 16, now you're in legitimate territory. Like, you're playing a team like probably a Baylor or even a Texas Tech, I think we said was a Sweet 16 game. So why am I so worried about 2 or 3 seed? This team's going to face tough teams no matter what. They're going to make it deeper into the tournament, I think. Obviously, you would rather them not, but I actually kind of want to see them play tough teams. I don't want it to be an asterisk. I want them to play well. That being said, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We kind of got a little bit out in the future there talking about the March Madness tournament, the NCAA tournament. My goodness. Let's talk about Texas Tech, because Iowa State has them coming up just at 11:30 today. This is going to be a big one for Iowa State in the seeding, but also moving forward in the Big 12 tournament. We'll talk about that coming up right here after this. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Coast. Coast Pay is giving Locked On College listeners up to $2,000 credit for your business when you get started today. If you manage a crew, construction, HVAC, landscaping, any operation with trucks on the road, you already know how messy gas and material spending can get. Cards get shared, receipts disappear, and month end turns into a headache. Coast Pay fixes all of that. Coast Pay is the modern fuel card and expense management tool built specifically for fleets. Fuel, maintenance, materials, all on one card with real control and instant visibility. Every transaction shows up the moment it happens. No surprises. If someone fuels up at an odd time or tries to buy something outside their limit, you will know instantly. Real-time alerts, so you always know who's spending what, where, automatic receipt capture that makes month end simple, and it works anywhere that Visa is accepted, no detours or specific stations. Some of my favorite features of Coast Pay. It is built for operators who don't have time to chase paperwork. And unlike old fuel cards, there are no contracts or commitments, just smarter expense control. Right now, Coast Pay is offering our listeners up to $2,000 credit when you get started at coastpay.com/lockedoncollege. Go to coastpay.com/lockedoncollege to see how you can earn up to $2,000 credit. Terms apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. With 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy, there's something for everyone. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. When I look at this draft class, my goodness, is it loaded. Fruity Rainbow, newcomer, does look enticing. Grape, berry, some old timers still have their fastball, all right? Sour apple. The apple that bites back. How can you look away from sour apple? But I'll tell you where I'm finally landing. When I have to make my pick 1-1, I'm going peach mango every single time. Right peach flavor on the first sip. All right, that's half the battle. That's a win right there. But then mango comes in and adds tropical depth and some sweetness. A smooth, rounded fruit profile. So balanced tropical blend. A sweet aromatic finish. Yeah, it is peach mango for me all the way. Every day. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. 5 Hour Energy also has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Iowa State dominated. I mean, just absolutely walloped on Arizona State in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. And now they find themselves in a battle, a showdown with Texas Tech. Why does that name sound familiar? Gosh, I feel like I've heard that before. Oh, that's because they were the only team to beat Iowa State at home this season. Woo! Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm not going to lie. 82-73 final score the last time these two teams squared up. I'm just going to get this out of the way right now. I think Iowa State wins this game. Okay. Texas Tech is coming off of more rest. Iowa State has played on the court before. I don't know if that really matters considering the fact that Arizona State almost scored literally only 10 points in the first half. Like I said, like 40% of their points came in the last 3-ish minutes. Incredible. So maybe the court won't play a huge role, but regardless, Iowa State, I think, has the upper hand here. They're coming off of a massive win. They've got some legitimate momentum. This is not me just making up, oh, I feel like we've got momentum. I don't even love that narrative. I don't. Sometimes I'm like, man, does it matter? Like, you still have to go out and play the game right in front of you, especially when we're talking about 5 days between games. This game happened yesterday. So you could talk about fatigue, which is very real. And I think we'll probably have that conversation more so if Iowa State wins this game, playing 3 games in 3 days, 4 games in 4 days. Like, yes, you will have to, that's tough on the body. But momentum then plays a very real factor here. And the one thing I did not get to yet, so if you stuck around, shout out to you. Killian Torrey made a 3. And I think the last time he did that was against Houston. So Iowa State's starting to feel it a little bit. Offensively, obviously 91 points. Impressive. Defensively, 42 points. Impressive. Texas Tech, a very good team. Obviously, beat Iowa State at home. That is something that Kansas, Houston were not able to do. Okay? I can name a ton of other teams that traveled up to Hilton and found their fate the same as those two. But those were probably the 2 best teams Iowa State played at home. So, the way I see this playing out right now, Iowa State is a 66.2% favorite. I guess they're favored by 66% by ESPN Analytics. I think that's about right. I'm not saying Iowa State's going to dominate this game, but I do think that Iowa State is the better team. I think that they win this game probably in the first 6 minutes, which is a crazy take. I know that's a crazy take. If they win this game, it will be in the first 6 minutes. Let's put it that way. I don't know that they're going to go on some crazy second half run against Texas Tech. And it's honestly, the keys to victory for this game are the exact same keys to victory that they were against Arizona State. This team, this Iowa State team, plays the same game after game. Okay. You could go into, Texas Tech has this advantage and that advantage. I don't really think it matters for Iowa State. I'm just going to be completely candid with you. And maybe you could sit here and tell me, that's just, poor, I don't even know, this reporting. I disagree. I think Iowa State can square up with anybody if they stick to their core fundamentals. I think if they go out and they rebound well, they force turnovers, they are smart with the ball, they take quality shots, move the ball around, all of those key pillars to Iowa State basketball, I think if they get those things done, they can beat anybody. They absolutely can. They have to bring the defensive intensity, just like Texas Tech said something that Arizona State said, right? If Texas, obviously we don't have any bulletin board material, so we'll see kind of what happens here. But if Texas Tech came out and said, yeah, Iowa State stinks, their defense is not even that good, how would Iowa State come out? That's how I want them to come out. I don't know if they will or not, but that's the intensity you have to come out with. Just for a quick reference, back when I played basketball, which was not very long, because I could not make it into the hoop if I literally used the force. But I was known as the effort guy. I was the slap the floor, shuffle the feet, keep hands out kind of guy. That's the kind of effort that Iowa State needs. And that's what literally leads to offense, which is the craziest thing that Otzelberger has been right about that for the last 4 years or however long he's been saying it. If Iowa State plays very intensely on the defensive side of the floor, offensive buckets they just appear out of nowhere. Now, free throws, that's a whole different story. And we'll see how they play out against Texas Tech. But Iowa State is at least getting to the line, which disrupts the flow of the game, gives Iowa State a bit of a kind of like a feel-good break. It's not a break where you feel like you're defeated. It's a break where you feel like you've got a chance. At the very least, which I know is a stretch, just make the free throws. Regardless, I like where Iowa State is playing right now. I like how they're playing. I don't know about Texas Tech as much just because they haven't played in a few days. They're coming off of some rest. Hilton South is very real. I will say the last 2 games of Texas Tech season after they played Iowa State were losses. That doesn't matter at all to me, okay? Iowa State just seems to bring out the best in everybody. I expect Texas Tech to probably shoot about 60% from the 3 to start the game. If Iowa State comes out and wins in the first 6 to 8 minutes, they will win this game. They can hold serve constantly throughout games. They don't really give up a ton of runs for the most part. Obviously, the end of halves, they're a little bit more vulnerable. But if they can hold an 8-point victory or an 8-point lead after the first 8 minutes, the rest of this game, I think that that's kind of where Iowa State wants to be in this one. I don't think they want to be in a spot where they're down 10 and they have to come back on the road. Like, I don't think that's where they want to be. Just come out more aggressive, get to that lead early, and then hang there. You can allow Texas Tech to go on a 6-0 run because you can go on a 6-0 run of yourself. You can't get down 10 and then allow Texas Tech to go on a 6-0 run because now you need to go 16-0 to tie it up. I know that that's how leads work. I know that's how bad. That sounds like the most duh thing of all time. But Iowa State, if you just play from ahead, they can hold teams off. They absolutely can. They can match runs really, really easily. And honestly, they go on runs every now and then too, just by creating turnovers. If they're shooting okay, which it seems like they are, and thankfully the court is not affecting their shooting as of yet, they will be okay if they win this in the first 6 to 8 minutes. Final score prediction, I think Iowa State wins this one 87-81. I think it's relatively close. I don't know if free throws gets it closer at the end. I do think Iowa State wins this game. I think it's going to be relatively high scoring. I think it has to be for Iowa State probably to win this game, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe Texas Tech just doesn't have it right now. And Iowa State will find themselves moving on regardless. Like I said, 87-81? I'm okay with that. Let me know what you guys think down below. Does Iowa State win this game handedly? Is it close? Does Texas Tech win it? I don't think Texas Tech wins it. And finally, what were your thoughts on the Arizona State win? I mean, let's just at least cherish that win while we can. Huge win for the Clones. If nothing else, it was really fun to watch. That being said, it's going to do it for today. Make sure you hit subscribe down below. It's completely free. Until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.